I'm your host, Holly Peppermint, and once again, I am joined by Head of Playcrafting, Dan Butchko, as well as Stadia Makers representative, Kirk Lakes. Thank you so much again for joining me a week later.
Yeah, here we are. Can't wait.
Man, that time flew
So,
by. I can't imagine how it felt for the developers.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
definitely felt more like 24 hours to the devs. There's
yeah,
never enough
for sure.
time. So as a recap, this Google Stadia Play Anywhere game jam has been a week-long jam focused on a group of independent developers creating playful, local Stadia experiences. It started on Sunday, March 14th, and it recently wrapped up yesterday, Saturday, March 20th. And we're here tonight to do our closeout stream so we can reintroduce the devs as well as debut all of the hard work that they've been engaged with this week. So I'd like to hand the floor over to Dan so you can talk a little bit about this game jam and what happened this week.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everybody. So excited to be here. This week we united 39, so almost 40 developers from across the United States. I think there was even one or two developers that were joining us remotely from different countries too. And so these folks are broken up into 10 teams. Many knew each other, most knew each other coming into this week. All have just this incredible background of uh, building independent games, releasing games. And we really, really wanted to shine a spotlight on these developers. So, you know, in the games industry and in games as a whole, a lot of times players get super into the games that they play, but don't really realize, who the people are behind the games. So earlier this week, we did spotlight the developers themselves. And as Holly mentioned, we will talk through a little bit more again, just to freshen everybody's memory. But really, I just loved seeing the devs all super active in our Discord all week long. I think one of the real marks of a really powerful, fun, uniting game jam is when people are talking all throughout and connecting with one another. I saw a lot of the team members sort of posting on Twitter that they had connected through the jam and are starting things separately from it too. And that's exactly what we love to see, because game jams just have this awesome power, of course, to help get games made, but also to unite developers and spotlight creators and foster connection between them. One thing that I really loved on the Discord too, obviously we're all in this mid-pandemic world and everybody's working remotely from their different homes. And so there was a sub channel on the Discord completely devoted to everybody's pets. So all throughout, not only were we seeing updates, really cool art and music and great stuff coming through the projects themselves, but we were getting, spotlights of cats on keyboards and dogs sort of like leering over their shoulders all throughout. And so, as if there wasn't enough pressure in a game jam, um, you know, everybody's pets were involved too. But, this week was really just about bringing devs together, getting folks excited, giving them the support needed to just kind of get their ideas going and see what they could come up with. So even though it was only a week long, really we just wanted to make sure that the framework was in place for these devs to let their talents and their passion come through. And so I think, based solely on the Discord and on the that pets channel, I think mission accomplished.
That's really beautiful. It seems like at its core, this game jam has turned out to be a really community building event. So that's amazing. Kirk, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the partnership with Google Stadia in this game jam and what the developers get out of participating.
Yeah, absolutely. First, let me just say I'm really, really excited to be here on this day to debut a lot of these games. It has been amazing working with Playcrafting on this. And, we haven't done a lot of game jams, and I haven't done any game jams with Playcrafting. So going in, I wasn't totally sure what to expect, but I can tell you just from what I've seen already, I am blown away by what these developers were able to put together in a week. Just it seems mind blowing to me, like the amount of work I'm able to get done in a week, and then add in all the creative complexity on top of that. Yeah, so just really blown away. And then to second what Dan said, I think he covered a lot of this really well. But the Discord was such a good example of how amazing these folks were. Not everybody's going to have visibility into that, obviously, from the outside, but everybody was just chatting and sharing. Hey, I'm thinking of this concept. Could you help me play test the game? Hey, check out my cat. And one of the developers, because I was posting my cat in our pet channel, and one of the developers actually drew a little sketch of my cat's face, because sometimes it looks like a little evil genius. And that was one of the nicest things anybody's ever done for me. So, on top of all the games, I got that as well. But yeah, moving on to the jam. So the main reason we actually did this jam, the main reason we partnered with Playcrafting was, as Dan so eloquently said, is to shine a light on the developers. What I do at Stadia is I work across a lot of different game makers, but I focus on our independent developers and people that are self-publishing games, to look at their games and help them bring their games to Stadia. So I get to see what makes up a lot of these teams, and I'm always so impressed by the amount of diversity, not just in the people, but in the backgrounds they come from. You'll meet composers, you'll meet high school teachers, you'll meet people that have a normal business day job, but then they're designing games on the side. So that's always super impressive to me. And what we really wanted to showcase with this game jam was look at these developers and let everybody see what a game development team actually looks like, the background these folks come from. And I mean, one of the outcomes that I really hope happens is that somebody sees this and says, wow, look at that. The person comes from the same background as me, or I didn't even think I could use my background I have to get into games, but they're doing it. I would love to do it. So really priority number one was showcasing these developers, showcasing their talents, showing everybody how amazing and creative they are, and letting more people see the work that they do. And then also getting a glimpse into the background and makeup of these development teams. But also something I just want to clarify in terms of operations of the game jam. So all these developers were paid to participate in this game jam first and foremost. We didn't ask anybody to come do this just out of the goodness of their hearts. Happy to be able to pay these folks for their time while they're showcasing their creative skills and stuff like that. But also they get to retain ownership of their IP. Us at Google and Stadia, we do not own these games. We are not taking any ownership of these games. They get to keep all their works, and whatever they want to do after the game jam with those games, they're welcome to do so. So I'd seen some questions pop up about that, and just really wanted to clarify. But what we're hoping that will happen, and a secondary reason we're doing this game jam is we would love to bring some of these games to Stadia. So we're going to debut the games today, but in the coming weeks, my team and the other folks that work on content partnerships and a cross-functional team from our Stadia group is going to look and play these games, and we're going to talk to the developers, and we're going to talk about the opportunity to help bring those games to Stadia. So we'll have more to talk about in the future, most likely in the coming weeks. We'll follow up and have more to say on what games may be coming to Stadia, or games that we're just going to help in whatever regard. So yeah, please look forward to us saying more about that here in the near future. But that's a really long-winded answer, and I think I already talked too much. So yeah, I'll stop there. But I think that does a good job of showing what we wanted to do with the jam.
Well, if you guys have been following along, all of the events of the Game Jam and all the updates from these devs have been on the Twitter feeds of both Playcrafting as well as Google Stadia's Twitter accounts. And we're here tonight to reintroduce the teams, as well as having the distinct honor to debut what they've been working on. So I know we're all really excited to see what everyone's been working on. I kind of can't wait. So let's just get right into the team introductions. So our first team that we have is Team Petrichor. They're led by Oliver Awat, and they are based in Worcester, Massachusetts. The team also includes Christina Andriano, Ezra Zanton, and Dan Schumacher. So Petrichor has been making Battle Billiards, which is a local multiplayer pool game where everyone goes at the same time. So without further ado, here is Team Petrichor's gameplay debut video.
This is Team Petrichor. I'm Ezra Zanton, and I worked with Oliver Watt, Christina Andriano, and Dan Schumacher to make Battle Billiards, a pool game where everyone goes at once. It's just as chaotic as it sounds. The other player can hit you while you're moving, and you can even try to pocket your opponent on purpose, but it'll only take a little while before they respawn. We tried many different player counts, but ultimately settled on 2-player 1 versus 1, with a single-player practice mode thrown in as well. The rules are pretty close to those of pool in real life. Get all your balls in first, but you lose if you get the 8-ball in before the end. For the art style, we drew inspiration from one of our favorite subreddits, r/real-life-doodles. Christina did an amazing job bringing these billiard balls to life. She even made faces for all the pockets. We're so excited for you to see what we've made, and try it out for yourself. See you at the table.
So that was Team Petrichor with Battle Billiards. And in addition to doing these game debuts, we're also awarding accolades based on the game. And we've given this one the Cutest Characters Award.
Yes. Gotta fit as many puns in there as possible, right?
Paid by the pun. So, how did you guys feel about that one?
Such a huge fan of this game. I mean, just hearing about the concept, I thought I could kind of envision what it is. But then when they started putting in the animations for the cue ball and the pockets, which is like well above what I thought it would be having in there, it's really cool. I love seeing that kind of creativity, especially again for something that was done in a week. It's really impressive to me what they're able to fit in. But I'm always a fan of games like this where it's a simple concept. I don't know about you folks, but anytime I played pool when I was younger, we used to always forget the normal rules and just like hit the balls across the
Right.
table and try to block each other's shots. So it's kind of seeing that realized in a game is awesome. I'm always love when people take a game that people are familiar with and put that creative twist on it that people probably tried doing at some point anyways.
Yeah, same here. I think for me, like I'm not a fan of pool, but I would play this game for sure. I really, and I saw some folks lighting up in the chat about this too. I love the little like stick arms on the actual like the balls themselves. And I also love that like we get a little bit of a taste of where these concepts came from and where the inspiration was from. Like now I want to go check out the Reddit that they mentioned on there, where it sounds like people are like drawing, I guess like stick arms and like making little like characters out of everyday objects. Like wow, this game can become like a huge like multi-game franchise where it's like a bunch of games that we all know and love, but sort of like kicked up a notch with exciting little characters drawn onto them.
And I'm also seeing some love for the sound effects as well in chat. They were loving the little nom from the pool pockets. So that's adorable. So next up, we have Team Games Without Words, and that includes John Smith, Aaron Yuan, Christopher Reed, and Wendy Boumel. The Seattle-based team focuses on projects that feature novel mechanics, strong aesthetics, and deep meaning. So their game, Who's the Boss, is a competitive co-op game about avoiding your boss and turning on each other. So without further ado, here is Team Games Without Words with Who's the Boss.
Hello everyone, we're Games Without Words, and for Google Stadia's Play Anywhere Game Jam, we developed the game Who's the Boss. In Who's the Boss, players participate in a normal day of work, until someone gets promoted. After a short preparation period, a player is randomly selected to become the boss. The boss's job is to send all of his subordinates to the dreaded performance review. It's up to everyone else to use their wits to build barricades out of office furniture, speed away with coffee-infused dashes, and fire back at the boss with a barrage of emails. It isn't quite as simple as it looks. A lot of our work went into tweaking the game's balance and making sure that the 3-on-1 competition feels evenly matched. The boss moves faster than his subordinates, but they can move straight through the furniture that slows him down. The subordinates are able to rescue each other from the performance review, but only if they're able to make it past the boss. Players have to carefully balance risk and reward, so basically a normal day at the office. Will they focus on building barricades and fortifying their own position, or will they dash across the map to save their partners? Will they leave the other subordinates in the performance review and try to eliminate the last player when it's their turn to be the boss, or are they feeling confident enough to take all 3 of them on at once? Office alliances are temporary. The coworker you just saved with a well-timed email is the same person that will be chasing you as soon as that timer is up. So be careful, be cautious, and remember who's the boss.
Just a normal day at the office,
Yeah.
super casual. We have decided to give this game the accolade of World's Best Boss Award.
Yeah, very,
Oh,
very
man.
fitting. And as somebody who has spent a lot of my time working on video game platforms with major tech companies, I love their commitment to the theme. I can see a lot of overlap between, the working world and what they're trying to build on here. But I think my favorite part about this game is how anybody could jump in and play this. Our prompt for these developers was to create something that could be played co-op. It could be competitive, co-op, together, whatever the case may be. And this is what they came up with. And anybody could jump in and play this, but that layer of strategy where the person is eventually going to become the boss too, so you can kind of lay the groundwork for what you're doing as the subordinate, so that when you get your turn as the boss, there's like a lot of strategic planning ahead of time. Those are the type of games that would be fun to have your friends or family jump in and play, but you could really dig into the mechanics of it and play it a long time. So I love what they started here, and could really see it going, built out even more and becoming even more strategic.
Yeah, and I'm so impressed with how far they took this concept in such a short amount of time too. I was sitting here looking at so many interesting details that they were able to put in here in such a short period of time. Like there those like the cards that pop up where you see like a close up of what the boss looks like, or even that little in-game status update where it looks like you're getting like a reply all email. Like absolutely genius. So good. And like again, this is where I just get so continually impressed more and more each day with independent developers, because this was such a short amount of time and there are so many interesting little like finishing touches that are already on this prototype.
So that's a job well done by Team Games Without Words. And I would just like to clarify that someone in chat actually gave an even better accolade than I think I could have come up with myself. Museth0 in chat said more like World's Beast Boss. So I think that's going to have to
Ah,
be what we're
nice.
going with on this one.
All right, nice.
Next up, we have Team Geofront, led by Chris Kindred. They are based in New York, New York, along with Chapin Boyer, Sashir Bomakanti, and John Wanamaker. The team have been working on a co-op first-person combat game called Project Geofront. So without further ado, here is gameplay debut of Team Geofront and Project Geofront.
This is Project Geofront, built by Chapin Boyer, Sashir Bamakanti, John Wanamaker, and me. This asymmetrical first-person shooter chases the tension we find in our favorite episodes of mecha anime. In Project Geofront, 2 players work together to fight off an extraterrestrial threat. While one player manages to maneuver around the city fighting monsters, another player manipulates the cockpit's systems and city grid defense forces. Like you see right here, while the player is attacking, the commander is moving reserve power into the city defense forces to spawn another weapon eventually. And right here, actually, the commander or co-pilot has to clear the heat so that the pilot can move freely again. The mix between fast-paced action shooter mechanics and high-speed resource management makes for a game filled with pressure, hilarious mistakes, and moreover, a powerful satisfaction when your attack plan comes together. We had so much fun making this over the past week, and we'd like to extend a huge thanks to Playcrafting and Google Stadia for letting us jam with them. And, without further ado, I'm just going to let you watch the rest.
I am seeing a unanimous use of the word cool in chat for that one. So I think we've all decided that one is very cool. And the accolade we've chosen for this game is Best Giant Robot Fighting Game because, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love you
when I
could.
was watching this one, sorry. When I was watching this one, it was reminding me of like the game that where I fell in love with like playing as just a giant beast of some kind in a city, and that was the first Psychonauts game. And so as soon as I saw this sort of like version of that, which is it's an entirely separate game, but like I get so excited just about the idea of like stomping around this city and just shooting these squid-like creatures around. And so to me, it's that like visceral excitement of just like trashing aliens along the way just like speaks to my inner 13-year-old that fell in love with video games in the first place.
Dan, I think you put it perfectly. I met and talked with the developers throughout the week, and talking to these folks, you can tell they share that same love of the subject matter. Like, you can tell these are people that really, really love kind of kaiju inspired anime, or like big monsters coming from space, and you got to take them down. We talked a little bit about that, obviously, but it's so cool to see that vision really be made into a game in a week. But I also really love what they did with the co-op mechanics here. So they could have just put two people in there. You're shooting giant monsters. Their monster design is fantastic. That would have been a great game. But they took it a step further and actually having the co-op mechanics work together, where one person's the commander and has to kind of play a little bit of a management role. Managing the cooldown, helping them as they gather energy and stuff like that. So I love that they didn't take the easy route and added another layer of complexity, really showing that they were thinking about the co-op prompt that we gave them to create these games.
And it looks like Kai Matten in chat said micromanagement and shooting co-op. So we see those elements in play there. I also love the monster designs for that. That was pretty great. Next up, we have Team Jump Button, and they are led by Calbert Warner. And this team includes talented independent game developers and artists, including John Arvin Medalla, Jonathan Umar Kitab, and Michael Bertod. Their game is called Fragments. And without further ado, here is Team Jump Button with Fragments.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Umar Kitab, and I am the game designer on the game currently titled Fragments.
Hi, my name is Michael Berto. I'm a game designer and programmer, and I was the programmer on this title currently called Fragments.
We're going to be taking through how the game is played. We'll be showing you a bunch of the puzzles and how we solve them. Fragments allows you to play as one of two characters. The first is Yone, a melee character, and the second is Yona, a ranged character. Fragments is designed as a co-op first game, which includes a variety of other elements sprinkled around through the design, such as platforming, puzzle solving, and action elements. So without further ado, let's begin. We're going to start off by going to the right.
Now this challenge involves both players taking separate paths. Each one has its own set of challenges that the players will face. Here, the first player will hit a switch which will open the door for the player 2 to proceed forward. As they make their way up, passing the crystal back and forth, here, we've reached the top, and now player 2
has to open the door for player 1 in order to bring him back over. That's
Second try. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Second try.
Ooh, that was scary.
Oh man.
Wait, why is it doing that?
Look at that. We did that in 5 minutes. Charlie. Alright. I got it.
Wow, something about that art style and that music together just made me feel so peaceful. That was really well done, really beautiful. So we've decided to give this game the Power Couple Award because what'd you guys think?
So I'm a little bit biased because I'm a big fan of Hollow Knight, which is a 2D side-scrolling combat inspired or very combat heavy indie game, and I can see a little bit of Hollow Knight in there. But also the soundtrack that they have in there reminds me of a game called Nier, which is also near and dear to my heart. I didn't realize I was going to make it fun until I said that. But no, these folks are again. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it blows my mind what they came up with in a week. It just so cohesive in the vision that they have of the game. You could tell they had in their mind what they wanted to make it, and it really came through when they delivered in a week, and that blows me away. So think about what they would come up with if they had even more. And I think that's a recurring trend with all these games is these are supremely talented folks, and it is a great example here. But all of them are supremely talented, and you can imagine what they would have if they had even more time, because that looks like a game I want to play right now.
Right?
It looks almost like a full game already.
Yeah, for sure. And I loved how when we got the zoom in on the characters, and I saw some folks in the chat lighting up about this too. There's like so many great little lighting touches in there, plus the animation of the characters themselves. And I think that like once you got up close, you got to appreciate those little details. But then like when we were panned all the way back, you could see how just positively massive that level was. So I see some like great opportunities here for exploration and just this like fun co-op journey that folks can go on in this. And again, to Kirk's point, this was made in such a short amount of time. I can only imagine where it might go next.
And I'd like to give a shout out to UK Storm Dragon in chat, who is the designer of this game. That was John. And I just want to say really well done. John says that the game is too big to fit in this small video, but they're just showing small sections. And I think that can be said about all of the debuts that we're giving here today. It doesn't quite live up to the full scale of the actual game and the work that's been put into it by these teams. So well done. And next up, we have Team Novel Idea, and they are led by Cara Hillstock, who is also present in chat. And it includes Ashlyn Sparrow, John Bond, and Ram Marm. And with a passion for making games as interactive experiences, Novel Idea has been working on a multiplayer roster-based competitive narrative game based on Pride and Prejudice. So without further ado, here is the gameplay debut video.
Hi, my name is Cara Hillstock, and I am the narrative designer and project lead for A Novel Idea. The game that we made is called Pride vs. Prejudice, a competitive multiplayer novel. It is almost exactly what it says, a roster-based competitive multiplayer narrative experience. The idea of the game is that you choose from a roster of characters. Once both players have selected their character, they are given an objective. For example, if you picked Lizzie and Darcy, the theme of their story is rivals to lovers. Lizzie's objective is to have Jane marry Bingley. Darcy's objective is to prevent Mr. Bingley from marrying Jane. Once you start the game, you will each be thrown into your own individual stories. That being said, any choices that you make not only affect your chances of achieving your objectives, but also will affect the other player's chances of achieving their objectives. So, for example, in the first scene, Mr. Darcy is trying to talk Mr. Bingley out of throwing a ball. Mr. Bingley wants to throw the ball to attract Jane. Mr. Darcy does not want Mr. Bingley to throw the ball so that he does not end up with Jane, because that's against Mr. Darcy's objective. So, Mr. Darcy can get an option to convince Mr. Bingley to throw a seance instead, because no respectable lady would come to a seance. At the end of these individual scenes, the game will then bring the players together for a scene in which they can both interact. There are different choices that the player can select and different kinds of gameplay depending on which scene the players end up in. Although we're only able to show Act 1 in the current build of the game, I did want to give a shout out to all of the hard work that the rest of the devs did during this jam. The artist created art and expressions for 11 different characters, along with the UI, backgrounds, title screen, credit screens, and character rosters. The musician made 14 different songs, and I wrote 20,000 words. We have this route in its entirety, although we're only able to show you Act 1 as of now. That being said, I hope you can see what our vision was for this project, and I hope you enjoy what we do have to show for ourselves. I'd like to thank Playcrafting and the sponsor Google Stadia for inviting us to this jam. It's allowed us to completely experiment, and I can't wait to see where what we have now will take us.
Wow, 16 different endings. That is so
Crazy.
impressive. We'd like to lovingly give this the Best Gamification of a Novel from 1813 award.
The elusive
Perfect.
award.
Yes, it's
highly competitive for that accolade, I imagine, right?
it's a very controversial award. It starts a lot of fights every year. You know, everyone wants it, but there could be only one.
Yeah, look, I'm so blown away by just seeing that game, how well the art is done, the character expressions, the amount of dialogue that's in there, how good the music that they had just in that video went with it, but the amount of work the composer was putting into it. Yeah, blown away by the amount of work, but more than anything, I just love the vision of that game. Like, who would think of putting that together? But the instant you hear it, you think, wait, I want to see what that is. I want to play that. I want to try that. And I think a lot of folks probably tuning in and you know, us here have like tried a narrative driven experience before, but then you put in like co-op mechanics and trying to throw people off. It's just, that's not an easy idea to put together. And they have done it so well with such a smooth translation of the initial concept to like the artistic implementation that it really does blow my mind.
Yeah, I love seeing the narrative love here too. It's very clear that Kara and the rest of the team just have a real passion and a love for narrative design and narrative games. I cannot believe that Kara wrote 20,000, I think it was 20,000 words. That's, wow. Kara, go take a nap,
So
please.
impressive.
Yes. So just so it's so cool to see you know, such a different interpretation too of just this overall theme of making a multiplayer game. So just really all around super impressed with the amount of love that went into this game, and I cannot wait. I know that was only a teaser of Act 1, but I can't wait to see how it plays out over multiple acts.
And I find it so interesting that depending on who you choose, there are different arcs. I heard mention of the rival to lovers arc. And I also find the art style so charming. I'm seeing a lot of love in the chat for the art style. One of my favorite games is Stardew Valley, and it reminds me of that in the loving and charming way that these characters have been represented. And so I'm really excited to actually, I almost feel like it's a personal challenge to get all 16 endings now. So
Definitely.
thank you so much to Team Novel Idea and thank you to Kara. So next up we have Waking Oni Games and they are led by Derek Fields. Waking Oni Games also includes Francesca Carletto Leone, Oriana Carletto, Mike Flood, and Chase Bethea. The team is focused on creating experiences to uplift underrepresented voices while exploring cultural intersections, media, and nostalgia. Their game, Bushido Bots, takes BattleBots to a whole new level. Run that gameplay debut.
Bushido Bots. Fight, slash, and clash. Bushido Bots are the fighting robot toy. All the robo action you can handle right in your living room. Rise to meet the challenge. The sword is in your hands. Groove to the beat and take them out. Available anywhere toys are sold. Bushido Bots is developed by Waking Oni Games as part of the Play Anywhere Game Jam, sponsored by Stadia. Not intended for players under 13. Batteries and controllers sold separately. Bushido Bots might be sentient.
Bushido Bots is a rhythmic fighting game developed by Waking Oni Games, a BIPOC-led studio focused on creating experiences to uplift underrepresented voices while exploring cultural intersections, media, and nostalgia. Players take control of a Bushido bot and engage in a miniature-sized duel to the death. Move around the arena, adjust your stance, and attack to take out your opponent's armor while looking for holes in their defenses. Gameplay is rhythmic and fast-paced. Players must step to the beat to use their actions and land attacks. Our team was inspired by classic games like Mega Man Legends, Virtual On, Gundam Breaker, and of course, Bushido Blade. Fighting games present a uniquely intimate gameplay experience. Every moment and every move is in direct response to your opponent. In a way, it's like a dance, and we absolutely leaned into that with the rhythmic element here. Games are a powerful way for people to connect, and especially now that we can't be together physically, multiplayer games give us spaces where we can continue to create lasting memories. Playing and creating games together has been so important to our team this past year, and Waking Oni Games is passionate about exploring the connections people can make through gaming. We hope you'll reach out and stay connected with us. Thank you again to Playcrafting and Google Stadia for this opportunity.
And we'd like to award them the best tiny robot fighting game because they gave us an entire infomercial, which is so amazing.
Yeah, I think they that accolade is well earned, but they also earned the accolade of best trailer or intro for their game ever. Man, that was
best
well
infomercial.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the first time I saw that. I was like, "Hey, you guys had time to put this together too? Wow! What I don't know what kind of coffee they're drinking over there, but
I felt like Billy Mays was about to pop out and be like, "And there's more."
Yeah.
Yeah, they really nailed it. Also, I guess I keep saying I'm a fan of this game or that game as I see these, but they had a reference in there, so I don't feel as bad. I grew up playing Bushido Blade. That was one of my favorites. So the way that they nailed that, not just in Bushido Bots, but like the mechanics of very methodical choice instead of just mashing buttons, and also they had the folks playing back there with what looked like the OG PlayStation controllers, like kind of tugging on my nostalgic heartstrings there. But I think at a deeper level, what really is attracting me to this game, like the more I see it, I watched it earlier, now I'm watching it again, is so many fighting game developers try to figure out a way to make their game more accessible or like teach people the mechanics because there's a pretty high barrier to entry to get good. But when you are really good at a fighting game or you get good at it, it is actually very rhythmic and you're playing it to a specific rhythm because you have to hit buttons at very frame precise inputs and that translates into combos. So this isn't a combo heavy game. It's very specific, but making the player react and move to the rhythmic inputs is a cool mechanic, but also a cool way to teach people that maybe aren't as familiar with fighting games, like how to kind of get into the rhythm of attack, play and strategize. So I absolutely love that about this.
Yeah, I mean, other than my mind just being completely blown by the quality of that crazy infomercial at the start, um, once the team was explaining how the game works, I'm one of those people that, I love watching other people play fighting games, but for me, it's like as soon as I sit there and I'm trying to figure out combinations, I'm like, I'm here to play. I'm not here to overthink. This is just overwhelming to me. So I love, the way that they sort of approach this challenge, and it looks like something I could actually figure out and get really into. And I love that rhythm tie-in, and the art style. I could go on and on, but it was just, I just think, just like a really fantastic job by the Wikione crew.
Being the queen of the button mash, I love the rhythmic element because it feels like it could finally help me and my tiny brain understand the concept of fighting games. But I'm also really struck by the way that they played with depth and dimension. It looks like almost when you're watching the arena, the robots are almost 2D, and then you're seeing the 3D elements in the back, and the way that it switches based on the angle. I'm really in love with that style. So that's going to be really cool to see more of. Also, really great. It's a really great concept that the studio is backing with it being BIPOC studio trying to uplift underrepresented voices. I think that's a beautiful message. So well done to Waking Oni Games. Next up, we have Angry Array, and they are led by Kevin Harper, and it is a team hailing from New York City. So the team includes 2 other game developers with a strong background in creating VR experiences, and Kevin is a lead developer at Us2, which is the studio responsible for Monument Valley. Um, 2 other team members include Sam Eng, who's been working on Skate Story, and Rustin Wallen, who's working on an upcoming VR game releasing soon for the Oculus Quest. Their game, Cheese's Telekinesis, pitches you and your friends against each other to see who is truly the most holy. Here's the gameplay.
Hi, my name is Kevin Harper. I am representing Team Angry Array. That consists of Rustin Woolen, Sam Ang, and myself. We built a game called Cheese's Telekinesis. It is a very simple game in which your character has a halo over its head, and all you have to do to win is fill the halo by winning the favor of the gods of cheese. The god of cheese has an eye with which it gazes throughout the world. You can make sure that you are the most precious creature that it has created by making yourself seen, by jumping into the gaze of that eye, and making sure that nobody else is visible within that gaze. You have telekinetic powers, so you can pulse other players away from you when they get too close, if they want to hog all the spotlight, and make sure that you are the one who gets all the praise that it deserves. I hope you get to try it. Again, the game's name is Cheese's Telekinesis. Look it up on Stadia.
Which one of you is worthy?
And we'd like to give them the Big Cheese Award.
Yeah, fits perfectly, of course. So this is a game I really want to have friends over to play once we're in a world where you can have friends over. Because everybody would get a kick out of this. I love the competitive nature of it. I love how you can kind of mess with people and try to get them out of the gaze and get on top of it. But also the idea of making it cheese and sticking to that theme is so good. It makes it stand out from everything else. It's just such a example of their creativity that I like that. But as a fan of cheese too, I am a fan of everything else like that. That makes me like it even more.
Yeah, this game hit like checks off so many boxes for me for the kind of thing that I love. It's completely out there. I absolutely love the art style on it. It looks like frenetic gameplay, just trying to like get to the top of these little cheese towers. And there were so many little touches. Again, when we're looking at games that were made in such a short period of time and prototypes that are sort of at stage one, when you can see, you know, the way that the cheese sort of like sponges out in this like great little like cartoonish way, almost like it's popcorn, or that audio for the cheese god themselves, where they're like, "Ugh," you know what I mean? There was like a voice there that like this game just has so much charm to it already that I can't wait to play it.
Listen, I'm lactose intolerant and I am still fully interested in this. So I'm I'm ready to play this. The eye and the concept of it looking over it just gave me a lot of Little Nightmares vibes. So I'm kind of feeling like maybe this is Little Cheese Mares. I don't know. Maybe we can workshop that. Let me know. Let me know. Uh, so our next team we have is Gum Buddies, and they are led by Briley Simmons and Nick Luper, and they are based in Austin, Texas. Gum Buddies also includes Amy Kai and Joe Bretz, and has been working on a co-op game about being out to sea with your best first mates in Jumbo Shrimpin'. So here we have the gameplay debut of Jumbo Shrimpin'.
Ahoy! This is Briley from Team Gum Buddies, here to show you our game, Jumbo Shrimpin', made for Google Stadia's Play Anywhere Game Jam. Jumbo Shrimpin' is a cute and chaotic co-opetitive party game inspired by games such as Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time and Overcooked. In Jumbo Shrimpin', a crew of up to 4 otters work together on a shrimping boat, working for and against each other to gather shrimp. The more shrimp and fish the team gets, the better overall score, though that doesn't mean an individual can't get an advantage. Our initial concept was more about structured teamwork, but we found that the more chaotic things got, the better. With so many different boating activities, we wanted to make each one understandable and fun. At its heart, Jumbo Shrimpin' is all about just goofing around with your friends, catching some shrimp. So, what can you do on a shrimping boat? Hang out and feel the sea breeze together. Catch a fish. Swab the deck. Be a little shellfish. Find schools of shrimp while your friend steers the boat. Save your friend from the sea. Push your friend into the sea. Get a couple shrimp. Steal treasure from your friend. Steal treasure from your friend's friend. And much more. That's Jumbo Shrimpin'.
I don't know who I need to talk to about getting my hands on plushies from this, but all I know is I need an otter and I need a shrimp, and that's that. We'd like to give this game the "We're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat" award. Or perhaps Shrimpin' Ain't Easy? I don't know.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Wow. Well, yeah, not bad. Yeah, I'm impressed. No, I think so. I like your accolade, Ollie. That was spot on. But the "We're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat" award was really good to me, because I like what they said at the beginning, where they were trying to figure out what you do on the boat and make it simple so people could understand the mechanics and how to work together. But they're like, well, you know, the more chaotic this is, the more fun it is. And so then you can see those mechanics start to get laid on top, where you can push your friend off or you can try to steal the treasure. So it's still a co-op game in spirit, but that, mischievousness that is in there, that you can kind of mess your friends up a little bit so that you can edge yourself out, but it's still a combined score. And that's not just good gameplay design and finding like the fun in the game. It also, if this is something they continue to build out, that's going to lend itself really well to like content creators wanting to play it and streamers and stuff like that. So That's exciting to me. And then the last thing I'll say is, yeah, the character design of this is incredible. All the art, all the assets, even the boat itself is so well done. Yeah, it's cute. It's very cohesive. It looks amazing, and I would buy a plushie. I'd buy a plushie of the boat plus the character. So yeah, they're doing something right.
Maybe it could be a set. They'll have the boat, and then you can collect the whole shrimp boat.
Oh yeah, give me the whole set. There was someone in our chat, Mark Sally, who I feel like was just speaking on my behalf in reaction to this video. So cute, I want to die. That is exactly how I feel. This game just speaks to me on a very core soul level. The otter design was really giving me Pascal vibes from Animal Crossing. And right away, like I'm here in the middle of this pandemic, hunkered down with my parents, and we've shared an island, and I am so excited to show them this game and for us to swab the decks together and sort of play as these adorable characters. Just so unbelievably polished. Crazy to me that this is just the beginning, and I just absolutely need to play this game. I cannot wait.
It's so cute. I want to throw my friends over the side of a shrimp boat. I don't know. I just want to be an agent of chaos. I remember throughout the week, I was keeping an eye on the Playcrafting Twitter just to see what all the devs were up to. And the tweets that kept drawing my attention were of the little otter animations. And I think it was Briley who posted a little bit earlier that they were working on a little ahoy animation for the otter. And it was just, my heart like so burst open from the cute. Like I couldn't handle it. So yeah, this is really polished. It's really well done. So great job to Gum Buddies. I can't wait to see where this goes. So up next we have Mismatched Games, and they are led by Samantha Ortiz, based in Austin, Texas. And the team consists of Autumn Rains, Roscoe Rappaport, and Nicholas Plum, who recently graduated from Code Coven Online Bootcamp. They have created a game about creating your own monster called Let's Make Something Weird. So let's make this gameplay debut video weird. Run it.
Hi there, I'm Plum. I'm Mismatch Games' audio designer, musician, and game designer, and I'm here to tell you about the game we made for Stadia's Play Anywhere Game Jam, Let's Make Something Weird, a game where a scientist and the monster she's created fight off wave after wave of enemies who are trying to destroy their lab. At Mismatch Games, we enjoy making games that everyone can enjoy, so naturally we were excited to work on a little couch co-op title together. Our initial goal was to make something weird. Our engineer, Autumn, had an idea about a mad scientist and a monster, but hadn't really expanded on the concept just yet. We all like the concept, so we went with that as our foundation. Naturally, you can see how that led to our final product and also our title. The game loop's pretty simple. The monster and scientist are in their lab, and waves of attackers bust down the door and then attack them. The monster and scientist are in their lab, and wave after wave of attackers burst down the doors to attack them. The monster's job is to fight off enemies while the scientist boards up the doors and helps repair the monster, whose limbs will fall off if it takes too much damage. The scientist will have to source limbs from enemies the monster defeats, but must be strategic and communicate with the monster player, as different limbs have different qualities. For instance, a wing from an angel doesn't do much damage but is very fast, while the torso of a robot is very sturdy but will slow down the monster greatly. The mechanics suited our namesake perfectly, and also informed our aesthetic decisions. Roscoe, our artist, used a collage style for the monster's limbs while using more traditional style for his head, and I decided to make a jungle track as background music. Both of these artistic traditions involved taking parts from something old and putting them together to make something new. I think, as a studio predominantly made up of queer and trans developers, these themes are drawn from our lived experiences. Stuff such as I think, as a studio predominantly made up of queer and trans developers, these themes are drawn I think, as a studio predominantly made up of queer and trans developers, these themes are drawn from our lived experiences. Stuff like supporting each other, recreating your body to better suit your identity, and fighting off waves of polo-shirted attackers are all things universal to the experience of being a queer person in the world today. We're so glad Stadia and Playmakers gave us the opportunity to make this game. We really hope you enjoy it.
And we'd like to go ahead and award Mismatched Games the It's Actually Frankenstein's Video Game Award.
So
Thank
this,
you.
yeah, very good. So I like so much about this game when you hear them explain their thought process behind it, the idea of the monster and the mad scientist ahead of time. They kind of had that concept, and how are they going to work that into a game? And then all the mechanics built around that really serve that same purpose, where you can lose a limb and rebuild it. But even when they start talking about their influence to how they design the monster, the collage aspect, taking something old and making it new, and how that relates to their experiences, this is one of the reasons I was really excited to do the jam. And it's one of the reasons I always tell people that smaller teams or independent developers are so important to have their games on your platform, because there's such a smaller road from their initial vision to what game gets created than when you have a whole big team and an initial idea and it gets watered down a little bit. So like, this is a really good example of a team having a vision and then delivering on it. And I would be excited to see them continue to work on the game. But that being said, it's just really, really way more complex than I would expect a game to be in a week. Like how you can protect, how the different limbs act. I mean, that is so well thought out and executed that, again, doing that in a week from concept to implementation is insane. And they did a fantastic job at it.
Yeah. I feel like this team and this game takes the word Frankenstein and turns it into a verb. So you're tasked with just Frankensteining this monster all throughout. And I absolutely love how each of the parts that you can get gives your monster sort of a different kind of advantage or a disadvantage. And just so much thought went into it. And then when I get to hear the background of the developers themselves and where, you know, their stories really impacted the mechanics and the actual gameplay, it's just such an interesting and creative and beautiful way to express that experience. And I'm thrilled to see it come together the way it has. And again, I can't wait to play it.
It's very impressive to see the thought that was put into the different elements, like Kirk said. And the art style itself, for me, I'm not sure how many people remember it, but growing up, I used to watch Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and this one really activated that part of my brain. I don't know what it was about it, but I'm really drawn to this art style. So well done to Mismatched Games. And next up, rounding out our team of devs and their work this week, we have the Dayjammers. They are led by Brian Handy, and the Dayjammers are based in Los Angeles. So joining Brian are Mike Salah, Andy Tsao, and Alejandro Con Madrid. The team have created interactive games across genres and mediums, and for the Play Anywhere Game Jam, the Dayjammers have been creating a game about everyone's favorite activity in Dog Walker. So without further ado, we have Dog Walker.
Dog Walker is a game about walking around in a pack as humans and dogs. Many years ago, I thought an asymmetrical dog walking simulator would be really fun in room scale VR. But what we ended up making this week was so much more fun than I could ever imagine.
Yeah, what I like best about our game is how open-ended it is. Like, there's no points or anything like that. And you know, we started out with points in the design, but eventually we just found it was fun to like just make as many verbs as you can. Play fetch, or if you're 4 humans, you can play catch. or soccer, or you can do this too.
Y'all are very terribly behaved dogs. Yeah, we had a bunch of competition stuff at the beginning, and just ended up finding that was not where the fun was. So we ended up leaning more into the simulation side, and just kind of creating a fun environment to wander around.
And we had conversations too about Burning to Coven and the new games movement. This was a series of games where you have a parachute and a ball and you kind of bounce it around, or things where it's much more about play and about experiencing things with other people as opposed to rigid competition, where it's less about winning or losing or missions and more just about running around as a dog and getting into trouble. The whole game is so much faster without the human to slow us down. We can just run and be free as a wild pack of dogs.
Who invented leashes, anyways?
As Mr. intended. They're right here. Oh, yeah, I got it. Here.
You gonna throw it back?
Hey.
Over here.
Hey.
Oh,
Hey.
I'm open.
Just
Hey.
a couple folks in the park.
Hey. Hey.
All right.
I think that's good.
I think that's a fair sampling of.
Well, that's Dog Walker.
Hey, it works.
Thank you all for watching, and yeah, keep an eye out. Hopefully, we'll have some more cool stuff soon.
Have a good one. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Someone's going to need to let the Baja men know that it was Chat who let the dogs out, because
Yeah.
Chat is nothing but dog emotes for miles. It's amazing. We would like to give the Dayjammers the accolade of Best in Show for these certified good puppos. Thank you.
Holly, you've been on fire with the college who let the dogs out. Is fantastic. I don't think I can give you enough credit for that.
My brain is constantly on early 2000s mode. That's the only thing I can.
Right up my alley. I appreciate it. So anybody that's worked in development or knows people that have worked in development, you always hear that term, finding the fun. You work on things, you do it, and then eventually you find the fun, or you don't find the fun and it doesn't work. Hearing them say, hey, early on we had the competitive elements in there, and we were going to add this and that, and there's going to be asymmetrical multiplayer with some competitive aspects to it. And we're playing it and that wasn't fun. What was fun was running around as a dog, or having one person try to control the dogs while the dogs go around, or just being 4 dogs going around causing havoc, or 4 people. And that was really fun to play. That's perfect. The fact that they were able to find that and kind of pivot this week is great, but just hearing that makes me want to play the game. And, with all the simulator games that have come that people obviously love, Goat Simulator, stuff like that, this is perfect. Everybody who sees this is going to want to play it, try to cause a little havoc, try to, see what they can cause a little grief to their friends. So perfect co-op game, or even just to run around as yourself as a dog would be fun. So yeah, they're doing something right.
Yeah, for sure. My face hurts from smiling and laughing so hard alone in this room, isolated alone in this room, looking like a crazy person. But yeah, I fell in love with this game immediately. And to Kirk's point, I love how, the folks behind the game ran toward the thing that they immediately identified as the best part, and just added as many things into that as possible. And look at this incredible dynamic, sort of multi-layered lunacy that came out of it. I say lunacy in the most loving way, because I cannot wait to go and actually play. And they were putting down playing as dog walkers. I kind of like the idea of just chilling out with a couple of people in there and just waving hi to each other. That sounds kind of calming to me. Maybe it's a nice sort of palate cleanser after the dogs are barking and farting and pooping all over the place. So such a great sort of set of gameplay styles all in one, wrapped in this fluorescent neon package. And it was so hard. You can't not love that game.
I think also one of the most enjoyable parts of that was hearing the banter as they were recording and the way they were messing around with each other, like, "Hey, I'm open." That was really great, and it's just one of those things that reminds you how fun couch co-ops can be and how much more of that we need. Like we just need games where we can just be on the couch with friends and in the same room with that fun competitive nature. It's just it's something that we definitely need more of in the game industry. So these devs, you're doing the right work. Thank you. So now that we've had a chance to reintroduce all of our teams and we've given you all the debut of the gameplay of their work from this week, if you'd like to check out more information about the teams and developers, you can visit bit.ly/play anywhere jam. I believe we have a bot that can put that link into chat so that everyone has access to that. But once again, it's bit.ly/play anywhere jam. Kirk, would you like to remind the viewers what happens next with regards to Google and these games?
Yeah, perfect. So we mentioned this at the top, but in case anybody didn't catch it, this was just the debut. So what we're going to do from here is my team and myself are actually going to play these games and talk to the developers and go over some options for the potential to bring their games to Stadia. We said this at the top as well, but just a reminder, these folks were all paid to participate in this game jam. They own the IP, they own the games. Google and Stadia do not have any ownership over these games. So, if they have an opportunity to work with a publisher or bring the game somewhere else, that of course will be an option for them. And I imagine a lot of these folks are going to get interested in these games because there's so many awesome creative games here. But for us specifically, we're going to play them. We're going to talk to the developers and walk them through what would be the process if we are able to publish and bring the games to Stadia. And we're going to do that over the next couple of weeks. So should have more to share with you here in a couple of weeks once we've had a chance to meet with all of them and play the games and see how we can help if they do want to continue working on these games. So I would say stay tuned. Holly will talk about the channels to tune into here in a second, but stay tuned and we should have an update after we've had a chance to sync with all the developers and we'll share what that is.
Absolutely. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to our closing stream tonight. It's been such an eventful week for these devs. I'd like to go ahead and thank Stadia Makers for engaging in this partnership and giving this opportunity to these teams. I'd like to thank Playcrafting for hosting the Play Anywhere Game Jam and to the production crew for helping put these streams together. And most of all, I'd love to thank the devs and the teams that participated this week. I cannot overstate how impressive the work that you've provided in just a week's time is. You should all be extremely proud of yourselves. It has been my distinct honor to be able to share in the debut of this gameplay. I can't wait to see where it goes. I actually feel like my cheek muscles are hurting because I have not smiled this much in so long. Like the last hour just watching these videos of you all sharing your stories and your work, it's been a very fulfilling and wholesome experience. So genuinely, thank you for that. I'm going to leave the floor open to both of you if you have anything else that you'd like to say, perhaps some closing remarks.
Only thing I'll say really quickly is just huge thank you to Dan, Jack and Julian behind the scenes too, all the Playcrafting team. It's been fantastic working with them on this game jam. Thank you, Holly, for hosting. You've been amazing, and I love your early 2000s references. So awesome job with that. Yeah, just big thank you to the whole team that's been working on this. And then I cannot thank the developers enough for participating, for letting us have a look at the visions and what they're creating, their backgrounds, their thought process on games, and for working as hard as they did this week to put these together. I'm so excited to talk to these folks more, and I can't thank them enough for participating in the jam.
Yeah. Same here. It's been a long road to actually get to this point where all the devs have come through and have actually made these early prototypes. Even though Playcrafting's all over this, really it's Stadia and the folks at Stadia Makers that really it's their support that made this happen. And without them, we would not have been able to go out into the independent developer community and network and find all of these incredible game developers to dream up what's possible in a co-op multiplayer world. So thank you to Kirk and his team. Shout out to Jack, Julian, Tao, and everybody else behind the scenes. Holly, you were an incredible host. Please come back for the next one.
Anytime.
And great. And developers, I mean, right into the camera. Thank you. This was all about you. Thank you for bringing your passion, your talent, your excitement and enthusiasm. It lifted all of us up throughout the week and here. And I'm so excited to see where these games go next and to get them in the hands of players, because if we're sitting here beaming from just 2 minutes of gameplay footage for each of them, imagine what it's going to be like when this gets when these games get in the hands of players. So can't wait to see what you all do next with them.
So that is going to bring us to the end of our closeout stream for the Playcrafting Play Anywhere Game Jam 2021, presented by Stadia Makers. Once again, thank you to everyone involved and to the developers for your hard work and for creating this beautiful community across the last week of encouragement and sharing your stories. And so if you'd like to continue receiving future updates on these games and these developers, once again, for more information, it's bit.ly/Play Anywhere Jam. I believe there is a link in chat right now posted by the Playcrafting account where you can get more information on these developers. And if you'd also like to check out at Google Stadia and at Playcrafting on Twitter for future updates on these games. I'm Holly Peppermint, at Holly Peppermint on Twitter, and more information about finding all of these devs on Twitter as well can also be found in that bit.ly link. So that's gonna do it for us, I think, right, y'all? I think we send this one home. So all right, thank you to everyone that was active in chat. Thank you to everyone that has been following along, and we will see you in the next Game Jam.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.